Everyone, welcome to a Witcher Season 2 live stream. I am super excited to be here. It's been a long wait. We've waited, 2 years to get The Witcher Season 2, and we've talked about it on the channel a bunch, and we're finally here. I know most of you have seen The Witcher Season 2 in full. So if you have seen The Witcher Season 2 in full, cool. I totally welcome you here, and I'm glad you're here chatting with me. But if you haven't seen The Witcher 2, I highly recommend that you go and watch it for yourself, because we are going to be talking about spoilers today. We're going to be getting excited. We're going to be talking about all the big surprises. We're going to be talking about the introduction of new characters. We're going to be talking about all sorts of awesome stuff. Really great season in my opinion, but we're going to get into that. And yeah, I'm just super excited to be back here with you today. Really excited that The Witcher is back. And wow, what a season. It was really good. Let's start off by chatting with a couple people in chat here. I see Rick Hoppy, the Maester of Coffee. What's going on, Rick? Nice to see you. He says, I've got the next month off so I can make streams. There's going to be lots of streams, Rick, so super excited about that. Kate Bertinsky, I binged both seasons this weekend. Definitely needed a refresher for season 1. Yeah, I went back and I also watched a bunch of the older episodes too, to kind of give my, quench my thirst a little bit for the season 2 of The Witcher. So that was definitely super exciting. And yeah, season 2 of The Witcher was really good. I felt like the writing was really strong, and definitely love that they included a grain of truth in the first episode. We know that, the majority of the first season, they included a lot of short stories, especially for the first 6 episodes. And that was kind of, a key to their storytelling and plot devices for season 1 of The Witcher. But season 2 of The Witcher, we always knew that we were kind of going to be getting into, the main novels and some of the main plot and some of that main storytelling. So it's super exciting. We got Alexandra Sandu. Hey, what's going on? No, I definitely liked it, Alexandra. We got the real YT showing up. And yeah, for anybody else that joins, I'm just going to turn off my phone here so I don't get too many notifications. But yeah, it's super exciting because, when you have a big wait like that, especially 2 years for something, you got to worry about people losing their interest in something, right? Like I kind of feel like we waited a bit too long for Game of Thrones season 8, then look what happened, right? But if we're starting at this kind of, inception of a show, the start of a show, and you have to wait 2 years for the second season, that can kind of spell disaster. If it wasn't, I honestly think if it wasn't as big of a franchise as The Witcher, we might have had problems, especially for fantasy shows. So I'm really fortunate that we got season 2 of The Witcher, and hell yeah, I believe it's #1 on Netflix Canada, #1 on Netflix US, and it's having great success right now too. Alexander says, I've seen so much hate from both book and game purists. I don't want to deal with that no more. Yeah, I mean, we're always going to have that no matter what kind of adaptation is. You're going to have that with Star Wars. You're going to have that with A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. You're going to have that with The Witcher 2. But I felt like, and this is just my opinion, I felt like the cohesiveness of this season was really strong, especially the world building, right? We got a lot of talk about the conjunction of spheres. That's really exciting, right? Because in season 1, you got to kind of realize that we're getting introduced to these characters. We're learning a little bit more about them, kind of what makes them tick. And then we get into season 2 where there's character growth, right? We already know these characters a little bit, and then we get to kind of see them go into different locations and how that affects them. Well, we obviously saw that with Yennefer. We're going to talk about that, and Kahir and other characters. But I think that overall, the one thing that really stood out to me, obviously, is the relationship between Geralt and Ciri. That was, I think, the strongest point of the season. But, the world building was really excellent this season. What did you guys think about that, chat? What do you guys think about that? I really felt like the writing was elevated for this season. Of course, there's going to be, like, if you're going for an adaptation, of course, there's going to be changes, but Anna Hitchcock. It was so well done. The scripts were well written, and even the monsters were better done in the first season. Yeah, that's another thing that really stood out, right? We had a bigger budget for season 2 of The Witcher. That was really exciting, and you can definitely tell that paid off. Started off with the first episode. We got We got Verena and Nivellen, of course. We have a Bruxa, which is a very, very, very dangerous monster on the continent. Very vampire-y vibes, of course. And I thought that scene was awesome to start off the season with a grain of truth. I felt like was a really excellent choice. Of course, Ciri isn't there in the books, but having her there was kind of an interesting element, right? Because Nivellen doing what he did, being transformed and cursed because essentially because he raped women, he sacked a temple, he did very, very bad things. To have a woman reject him at the end of the episode, and it's not just Geralt. I think that the showrunner Lauren Hissrich really, really, really made a big strong point in saying, "Hey, we reject this kind of thing." You know what I mean? So, I think yeah, it was really. I mean, Christopher Hivju was excellent as Nivellen. I thought, a lot of people were commenting on his costume and the CGI and what he looked like. I thought it was really well done. It was playful, and the conversations between him and Geralt were really strong. Christopher Hivju is an excellent actor, and you can definitely tell they chose him because he's great at inserting those moments of comedy at points where there's supposed to be more serious discussion, I think. Kate says, let's highlight this one. Christopher was pitch perfect casting for the role of Nivellen. Loved it. Yeah, what did you think of the pronunciation, Nivellen, as well? I'm saying Nivellen. So I guess there's going to be some controversy behind that too. But yeah, the first episode was really well done, and I'm really glad that they chose a short story to do that, right? Because those were a lot of the vibes we had for the first season. So going back to kind of a formula that they had, obviously there was some confusion with the timeline stuff in season one, but to do that in the first episode, to slow it down a little, to get us to focus on the relationship of Geralt and Ciri and kind of move that forward was a really strong choice. Because like I said, Ciri wasn't there in the books during this short story. The Real YT says the foundation, the first episode was boring. Did not read the novels. What stood out to Leon in the chat was the beautiful scenery, the gorgeous shots. Yes, there was really, really beautiful scenery, right? Especially Kaer Morhen was absolutely beautiful. Alexandra is replying to Liat in the chat. I also found the acting all around more compelling. One thing that was talked about before season 2, Henry Cavill was out there saying, hey, I really lobbied for the more philosophical, the more emotional side of Geralt that we see in the books, and he wanted them to kind of showcase that in the show. And I think that really came through, right? Like those scenes with Triss were very, very strong, right? Like Triss was trying to get Geralt to commit to spending time with her, obviously, because she has feelings for Geralt. But Geralt, there were so many moments in the season where he kind of really took the bull by the horns, especially with Ciri, right? Him being her protector, and he's like, one of the moments later on this season where he's talking to Yennefer and he goes, mine. And you can tell how angry he is with Yennefer because of her choice, because he knew that she was doing something devious in order to get some of her chaos back, right? Like he just knew he had that hunch, and that was a really strong moment, right? Obviously, he partially forgives Yennefer by the end of the season because Yennefer made that sacrifice, but still, there was a lot of really strong moments like that. Ottawa's good, MSN. Thanks for asking. You liked when they made Christopher Hivju shave the beard at the end? I mean, we all know him as the iconic Tormund Giantsbane. So yeah. What are some other things? Like, obviously, we're just going to kind of go through. This is more of this live stream is more reactionary, guys. I've only watched the season 1, so I'm definitely going to go back and watch it. I think I'm actually going to go probably and watch a few episodes tonight and maybe a few episodes tomorrow and have a kind of a second viewing of it, because when you're watching a second season or something for the first time, it's like, oh, there's always going to be stuff that you're paying attention to, especially with someone with me, like that has ADHD. There's going to be some scenes that I don't even remember seeing, because I'm so focused on a specific character or a specific plot line or story element. And I'm actually really excited to go back, watch it back for a second time, because like I said, the moments for me that were really exciting as a book reader and as a lover of the games was all of the talk about the conjunction of spheres and prophecy. And I loved all of the flashbacks and those kind of elements, and the more magic elements tied to Ciri, for sure. Those were, I think, all of my favorite moments in the season that really pushed the story forward. And another thing that was really surprising, Chad, of course, the last scene of the season, we got to talk about that, the big reveal. That is revealed in basically the last book. So we got to talk about that, because that's absolutely huge. The reveal that Ciri's father is the Emperor of Nilfgaard. Huge, huge, huge spoiler. But something that's really interesting is them talking more about the Wild Hunt, and them including the Wild Hunt like that, because they're kind of just like this background element in the books, right? Like, oh, they're in the mythology of Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcherverse, as I like to call it. But I don't know. I get this feeling that because they pulled the reveal of one of the main antagonists, Emperor Emhyr, Ciri's father, being the Emperor of Nilfgaard, them also pulling the Wild Hunt kind of gives me a feeling that because there's multiple antagonists. There's always multiple antagonists in stories like this. Them pulling the Wild Hunt in like that makes me think that they could actually play a bigger role like they did in the games in The Witcher 3. Now, I'm not saying that the Wild Hunt are going to be one of the main antagonists, but for them to do that scene and teleport Ciri, Yennefer, and Geralt there, and to really kind of focus on that and talk about the Riders of Morhog and all of that, and the conjunction of spheres, and them really focusing on that really makes me think that they could go in that direction. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I find that actually really exciting. So, hey, Ryan, what's going on, my friend? Nice to see you in the chat. What do you think about what I just said, Ryan? Because you're also someone that played The Witcher 3. Really, really interested to see if you think that they're also going that route, because like I said, we have our we have a reveal of a main antagonist now, the Emperor of Nilfgaard being Ciri's father, but also them kind of focusing more on the Wild Hunt. Like, that's really big, I think. Oh, the Wild Hunt are the main antagonists of the Witcher 3 games. Of course, Emperor Emhyr, played by Charles Dance in The Witcher 3, or voiced by Charles Dance, I should say, who played Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. He's one of the main antagonists as well. But when you think about it, and you play the Witcher 3 game, it's the Wild Hunt who are the main antagonists in that game. So I'm not sure if Lauren is going to do that, because like I said, adaptations are different, but I 100% recommend buying the game if you haven't tried it out. Let's scroll up a little here. We have John Haymaker. Nice to see you. Ryan says, at first I was surprised at the Emhyr reveal, but then I realized they pretty much had to. You can hide it easier in the books than on screen. Yeah, Ryan, this is kind of my thoughts on it. If you think about it, we waited 2 years for the release of The Witcher Season 2. And I think if you wait another year, we don't know when we're going to get The Witcher Season 3. Apparently, they're already trying to get at it now so it can be released by holiday season of next year of 2022. But of course, we have COVID things springing up again. So there's always that possibility that things get pushed back. And if we're in a scenario where things get to have to get pushed back 2 years again, and we don't get another season of The Witcher for 2 years, that could really hurt the show if they didn't. Because kind of one of the main antagonists this season is, the battle within the characters themselves. So I think having the reveal of Emhyr as the Emperor of Nilfgaard, and having that, and kind of having that element and pushing it forward and doing it now, there are things that worry me about it, revealing it too early, but also at the same time, it's like, oh, how are they going to spin this story now? And that's really exciting, right? Because you can still have the reveal of the Emperor of Nilfgaard to us, the viewing audience. But characters like Geralt, maybe they won't find out till the end of next season or the season after that. Like, other characters don't necessarily have to know who the Emperor of Nilfgaard is. There could be whispers about it, right? Like, they could still kind of prolong other characters finding out that Ciri's father is the Emperor of Nilfgaard. But having the audience find out that Ciri's father is the Emperor of Nilfgaard is huge, I think. We have Mini Maxi saying the books have enough good villains to have Emhyr in the background. Yeah, that's true too. And that's why I kind of made a comment about the Wild Hunt, like having them, like each season, maybe there's a main antagonist, you know, this antagonist is a little bit more focused on in this season. And then there's another antagonist in this season. Like, we still have characters like Stregobor who are still around, right? We still have Rience, who was introduced in this season. We still have that kind of plot line. We still have other characters that are going to pop up, right? Like, we have obviously the Michelet brothers who showed up with Rience. That was awesome. That was kind of like our Blaviken of this season. And then we have Dijkstra and Redania, right? They're kind of doing their thing. King Vizimir. And then we have, of course, another very prevalent mage show up, right? Like Philippa Eilhart. My God, I wasn't sure if we were going to get her this season, but I think introducing her like that, having her as an owl for most of the season. What do you guys think about that? And then having her reveal her kind of popping into the background, because she's a major player, right? Like, she's got major power, and she's I'm really excited to see where they go with that character. That them pulling that character forward also, I think, is interesting. Hey, what's going on, Genghis? Firefucker. What a great scene, though. The actor that they picked for Rience did a really great job. What do you guys think about that character? The Real YT says, due to you being on Indie Geek last week, I learned more about the Wild Hunt. Yeah, we're gonna, I think too. And you guys can kind of comment on this. I will be doing, obviously, reviews for every episode. That's something that's going to be happening on the channel. And another thing that I'd like to announce is once a week, pardon me, Aziz, and Mikal from the Podcast of Surprise are going to be doing a podcast review / breakdown for all of the episodes. So I believe not 100% confirmed yet. I'm still talking with Mikal and Aziz, but I think that we will have a stream this Saturday covering the first episode that was focused on A Grain of Truth. So that will be something that's happening. But also, I think something that could be really interesting to have on the channel, guys, is having videos like, hey, this is the Wild Hunt. This is what they're like in the books. This is what they're like in the games. And this is what could happen going forward, because they're changing elements of the mythology to fit the adaptation on Netflix, right? So those are kind of some of the videos that I think would be really fun, like maybe doing some character profile videos. Like Philippa, we don't know too much about her. Like, she just got revealed at the later part of the season. Maybe doing an episode on Dijkstra and Redania and King Vizimir and kind of what they're trying to accomplish. We can do an episode on Emhyr and Nilfgaard and Fringilla and Cahir. I think that there's a lot of different videos. I think now that we got the introduction to some new characters, some new plot elements, some more kind of political conflict that's going to be going on throughout The Witcher and going forward in the series. So I think those are some of the videos that I really want to make and that I'm really excited to talk about, because those are, I think, the things that people are going to really enjoy going forward when we get more seasons of The Witcher. Those kinds of more Game of Thronesy elements, those elements that made that show so popular are going to happen also in The Witcher 2, right? And I think too, like, maybe doing an episode on, the prophecy of Ithlinne, and while the Wild Hunt might be interested in Ciri and Ciri's powers and stuff like that. So yeah, there was a lot of really good things that stood out to me this season. Ryan, let's highlight this. The humor this season. Yeah, that was really, really fantastic. There was, of course, this season I felt like was a lot more serious because they had to push the plot forward, right? Like, the idea that Ciri is dangerous and her power being unleashed or captured by the wrong people could be potentially apocalyptic. We saw that. I think that's really interesting. But also in the same time, having characters like Jaskier and Geralt and other characters get into it, it was really, really fantastic. I also, Mini Maxi, thoughts on the show breaking the fourth wall with the dog hand calling out the ballads. Yeah, there was a few moments like that where Jaskier making a little fun of season one. There was also a bunch of times, I think there was like 3 or 4 moments that really stood out in the season where they kind of made fun of some of the things that were picked on by critics and, book purists and stuff like that. I thought that those were really cool elements that they inserted, breaking the fourth wall, showing that humor, showing that, you can be a little self-deprecating and have fun and laugh at yourself about your mistakes. And I think that that's a really, really, really positive sign for a show like this, because you got to have that, right? There's going to be people that are always going to criticize fantasy shows like this, but I think that having that kind of element to it is just, I don't know, it's so awesome. It just made me smile. I was just like, oh man, this is so good. Like just them poking fun at some of the things that people, whine on about. But yeah, I think that was really cool. There was a lot of meta elements to The Witcher Season 2 that I really enjoyed. Ryan says, fun fact, the dock worker was a voice actor in The Witcher 3. He played Cleaver in various NPCs. I had to look it up because he sounded so familiar. Cleaver is also a very funny character from The Witcher 3, The Wild Hunt. String Theory says, let's highlight this. I don't know much about The Witcher besides the show. Have we got, Jaskier's backstory? Is he immortal or cursed or blessed? We're definitely going to learn more about him for sure. We didn't, I will say that I was a little bit disappointed. We didn't get as much of Jaskier this season, but the moments he was in the show, he really, really stole the scenes, right? Like he was absolutely fantastic. We're going to learn more about what is really important to Jaskier, of course, and all of our other characters. But is he immortal? No, he's not immortal. He's immortal in the sense that his ballads will live on forever, and that he is extremely talented, and his songs will be appreciated throughout the eons. I think that if that's kind of a good way to look at Jaskier, I think. You don't get to, and this was a great quote too. You don't get to play the damsel in distress here. That's my job. Yeah, there's so many great elements to that. Yeah, String Theory. I think that we'll do this is more of a reactionary take. We've already talked about pretty much the biggest spoiler of the whole season, the Ciri's father reveal, being the Emperor of Nilfgaard. That's absolutely huge. And them pulling that from basically the last book into this season. But I think that we will be doing, there's going to be a lot of streams. I plan on doing 2 or 3 streams this week and then having a couple of review videos out this week. So I think that depending on what you guys want, you guys can request, in the comment section, or whether it's in the live chat here, what kind of videos you want. And I can try my best to fit as many questions and kind of wants that you guys want, with also fulfilling my desires of what I want to talk about on the channel too. I'm really curious. What were some of your favorite episodes that stood out for the season? I thought there was a lot of really good episodes. I felt like they were all pretty cohesive. The last episode was pretty crazy. I love that. I definitely love them starting off with a grain of truth. That was a really strong start to the season, I think. Them arriving at Kaer Morhen. I didn't really like what they chose to do with Eskel's character personally, but an adaptation is an adaptation. Not everything is going to be one-to-one. So that's something that I was like, I didn't really enjoy the whole Eskel stuff, but getting to see Vesemir and Geralt, basically slay a Leshy together is really cool. So that was pretty interesting. But there was some changes that I didn't enjoy, but for the most part, I felt like the cohesiveness of the season, the kind of points that they were trying to make, obviously, being front and center, the relationship of Ciri and Geralt together, and Geralt being Ciri's protector. Yennefer kind of lusting to get her power back, and then realizing that there's something more out there for her, and not just her being some sorceress. There's more for her out there, and that is the theme of family. The theme of family was absolutely huge this season, and actually I believe the last episode was titled Family. Yeah, it was. So those were Some of the things that really stood out to me, like I said, the theme of family being huge this season. Of course, the different conflicts that arose within characters, kind of where does your allegiance lie? We saw characters like Cahir and Fringilla kind of question that. Yennefer also questioned that. Geralt, struggle with what Vesemir was trying to do and make Ciri into a Witcher. There were so many of those moments where there was conflict between characters that have really strong bonds with each other, I think. I also, Kapertinsky says, I really loved Istrid with Codringer and Fen. I also loved Geralt with Istrid. That was a great duo because there he's like, Yenna, and them having the different nicknames because we didn't get the adaptation of A Shard of Ice, but there is some of that kind of conversation that they included in this season. So I was really happy to see both Istrid and Geralt come together and kind of just do their thing. Geralt, being, are you the mage that I gotta come fucking see? And then Istrid, like, who the hell are you? And him dropping, obviously the mutated monster's head on the floor, and them going kind of on the expedition to find out that the monoliths and the conjunction of spheres have a really strong connection. So that was really cool. I love that them as a duo, right? Because them both being lovers of Yennefer, I thought that was really, really, really cool. Yeah, Kapertinsky says, them working together on the monolith stuff was delicious. Just the dramatic irony of their shared love for Yen. Yeah, see, you say Yen because you're a Geralt stan. Henry Cable stan. I love it. String Theory says the Emperor caught the two in a lie after they said they killed the pure-blooded elf baby. Nope, it was him. I wonder if it will make them switch sides. Well, one thing I don't want to spoil is that there are some characters that you can make comparisons to Game of Thrones characters. Cahir is a character that I like to compare to Jaime Lannister a little bit. He's a conflicted person. Like, obviously, he has loyalties to Nilfgaard, but there's also things that he questions because there are things that go beyond just having loyalty. Like, killing babies is not a good thing. You know what I mean? So I think that there will be some of these moments where they say, where they question what they're doing because Emhyr is not a good person. Okay, like, you go killing babies like that is not a good thing. So there is going to be times, I think, without spoiling too much, Cahir and Fringilla and other characters questioning their absolute loyalty to the White Flame, the Emperor of Nilfgaard. I mean, if I was in his position, and obviously I wouldn't want to get beheaded because you need to have absolute loyalty if someone thinks of themselves as a messiah, which is what Emhyr does think of himself. I would be pretty scared to go against a person with that much power, right? So you got to consider that. They're in very, very difficult positions. They basically have to say yes or they die. Pardon me. No, String Theory, we're having fun. We're having an open stream today where we're going to be talking, basically gushing about our love for The Witcher Season 2. Actually, something that I would really love for everyone here, if you had to rate The Witcher Season 2 out of 10, what would you give it? I'm really curious. Ryan Burns, one of the supporters of the channel, said, glad they gave Istrid a bigger role. I'm also very glad for that. I absolutely kind of loved his arc this season. It was a great one. Like I said, I think we've talked about this a little bit on the podcast. A surprise. We actually did a season 2 preview last week. If you guys want to go check it out, anchor.fm. Anchor, I'll just type it in the chat here for you guys. Podcast of Surprise. We previewed a little bit of season 2, but we did a season 1 recap, and I said that characters like Istrid, Stregobor, other characters are going to have more screen time because, some of their book stuff, there isn't as much book stuff for them. But the good thing about an adaptation like The Witcher, as opposed to like Game of Thrones, which is like 1,000 pages per book, is you don't have to cut as much, which is great, right? So you can kind of, if you're doing an adaptation, you can kind of add some ins for characters like Istrid, Stregobor, some more of the Witchers. I don't want to spoil too much, but characters like Cohen, Lambert. I would have wished we could have said that about Eskel, but he's dead now. And characters like Dijkstra, Philippa Eilhart, characters that we're going to get to know, King Vizimir, stuff like that. And I think that that's really exciting too as we move forward with the adaptation of The Witcher on Netflix. Alexandra says, just one binge, 9.9 out of 10. 6 out of 10 says, Mini Maxi, the caravan sequence was just a deus ex machina to get Geralt the horse. I needed my inappropriate uncle Yarpen. Yarpen Zigrin showing up was really cool too. Having him back. I think that we'll have moments like that in every season where we have, fan favorite book characters and characters that we connected with in season 1 kind of make their appearances again, and we'll have interactions with Geralt or Yennefer or Jaskier with these kinds of characters. I also kind of loved all of these different moments with, Jaskier trying to put himself out there, like, trying to get attention from different people and him being ignored. He's like, oh, cool. People just ignoring him and kind of giving respect to Geralt or other characters. And he's like kind of just in the background. He's just standing there like, I wonder why people are ignoring me or not even replying to me, or they're just walling him. I just love moments like that from Jaskier as well. I really liked Yarpen this season, said Kate Bertinsky. Yeah, I think I would give it like a 9 out of 10, honestly. 8.5, 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, there's, being a lover of the books and a lover of the games, there are some changes, some big changes, like major changes. But overall, like the thing that mattered to me the most this season was them obviously having cohesive points for each plot line, right? Like obviously they wanted to focus on the relationship of Geralt and Ciri, and we kind of had to have Yennefer go through her growing pains without chaos and without magic, and kind of see what kind of decisions she would make, whether she would exploit people for power, or whether she would make sacrifices, and she kind of did both, which was interesting. But yeah, I thought it was really good, Chad. I thought it was really good. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again, and I might say, oh, maybe I didn't enjoy it as much as a 9, because I'm pretty hyped up right now, and I'm just happy to have it back. We waited 2 years to have The Witcher season 2 back, but I think that it's actually really exciting when you go back and watch a second season again, because like I said earlier, there are all be like little little Easter eggs, little points in conversation that are going to be points of reference, like, oh, I missed that, like that's actually foreshadowing, or that's actually kind of a callback to this moment in the books. And there's going to be things that you always miss, especially when you're binging something, 8 episodes of something. Alexander Sandu says, meaning intellectually it's probably a 9, but the feeling after the first watch is a 9. Okay, that's cool. Mostly positive vibes so far from chat. I really like that. Some of the other things that really stood out, obviously we talked about the CGI and the budget being better this season, so that was really exciting. I really loved the storyline with the elves and Francesca and Filavandrel, and kind of them struggling to want to repopulate and, want to kind of have their own plot of land. And then we obviously saw how that backfired. Cahir called it. He's like, yeah, the Emperor is not going to like this very much. And then, Emperor Emhyr establishing that he's the one in power and he makes the decision, and it's not Fringilla. And Fringilla saying, oh, this person's my friend. Emhyr didn't like that very much. So that was, and, Fringilla saw her opportunity while the Emperor was away to kind of take charge on things. And then obviously she, used that paralytic agent to paralyze some of Emhyr's men. And, oh man, caught both Cahir and Fringilla in a lie. And then, oh yeah, there's going to be some consequences there. Yeah, I thought that, maybe towards the end of the season, I didn't like Francesca as much towards the end of the season. I thought her acting was phenomenal for like the first 3/4 of the season, but then it kind of got like maybe a little bit forced towards the end of the season. I thought her character, I believe her name is Mesia Simpson, did a fantastic job. Having Tom Canton back as Filavandrel, of course, he also voiced Filavandrel in Nightmare of the Wolf, the Vesemir prequel, which there was quite a few kind of nods to that in The Witcher season 2. They actually mentioned Declan. Vesemir mentioned Declan, and I thought that was really cool. And obviously there was some, them trying to tie together the Witcherverse timelines for the adaptations on Netflix together. So I thought that was really nice. I thought that Kim Bodnia did a great job as Vesemir. But I want to ask you, Chad, because Vesemir is a fan favorite character. Did you think Kim Bodnia did a good job as Vesemir? Because this is something that people really were looking forward to. And I thought his interactions with both Geralt and Ciri were pretty cool. James, what's going on, brother? Nice to see you. Francesca going Old Testament on fools was kind of dope. Yeah, I mean, someone like if someone murdered your baby, you would obviously want retribution, right? I mean, I don't blame her one bit for what she did. But I personally wouldn't go killing other babies. But, this is the continent, and there's obviously higher stakes to what's going on in that world as opposed to ours, I guess. Who were some of your favorite characters that were introduced this season, guys? I thought Dijkstra was excellent. His kind of him throwing the dagger and then making the other betrayer drink the poisoned wine. He's like, oh, and then we hear Vesemir. Oh, I knew that guy since I was 5. I thought that was such a badass entrance to seeing Dijkstra kind of do his thing. And Graham McTavish is a very, very good actor. I believe he's in Outlander. What other? He actually is. I believe he's also going to be in House of the Dragon, which is going to be really exciting. I can't remember what character he's going to be playing, but he's been in so many big projects. I think he was also Dracula in Castlevania, the animated version of that on Netflix. So that was really good. And what other shows was he in? Was he in Transformers? But he's in a bunch of different projects, and he's going to be in a bunch of upcoming projects. Like I said, House of the Dragon being one of them. Brian Burns says Philippa. Oh my God, yeah. I thought that was the way they pulled that off this season too, having Philippa be in her owl form most of the season, and people being like, maybe this Dijkstra guy is kind of nuts. Like, both Dara and Dijkstra talking to the owl. Like, for the people who haven't read the books, did you feel like that was someone in an owl form? Did you guys feel like that was a mage, or that was just, I don't know. Did you feel like something was off there and that was actually someone turned into an owl? Because I was like the whole season, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait till she gets out of that goddamn owl. I was just like waiting. I'm like, oh, I know for sure that they're just going to do it the last episode. Lydia, I believe, string theory. I thought Kay Bertinsky says, I thought he was off his rocker at first. Yeah, I thought it was really well done though, because like he's shaving himself and he's talking, like, you know what I mean? Like somebody's talking to themselves. You're going, oh, maybe this Dijkstra guy isn't all right in the head. Yeah, Lydia was the one with Rienz. Liat has a question. Do you think Yen taking that role this season is foreshadowing for that, or is that arc done within the show? I don't want to say too much about that because it's a little bit spoilery. But I really love that the family is together at the end of the season. Obviously, there's going to be moments where our characters are together and they are displaced. There's a lot of moments like that in The Witcher, without spoiling too much. It's going to be really interesting to kind of see, because people were wondering where The Witcher season 2 was going to end. And it's funny enough, I called it on Indie Geeks live stream. I'm like, with the two season wait, I'm like, I think we actually might get the reveal that the Emperor of Nilfgaard is Ciri's father. I never said that because I didn't want to spoil anyone, but I said, I don't know. I have a feeling, like, I just have a feeling that that's going to happen. And that's where we ended up with, obviously there's a lot more stuff going forward with Aretuza, the politics, with the mages and the kind of power grabs that people want to be making. And there's going to be a lot of that, right? Like now we know that Vilgefortz is kind of the face of the Brotherhood, right? And we see them meet at the end of the season and talk about, hey, you know, it's going to be the North versus Nilfgaard, and we see Nilfgaard and Sintra, and they're kind of rooted there. And we see Emhyr get back, and he's gonna want to cleanse the continent after he finds out some of the stuff that's going to be going on. So there's, you know, they set up all these little points of conflict that are going to be going forward, and these are going to be going on for multiple seasons, and it's only going to get more intense as the seasons go on. And that's what I'm really excited about, because we've only really scratched the surface as far as like that political conflict element, right? Like they introduced some more political conflict, and then we got the foreshadowing of the prophecy stuff with Ciri, like that got a little bit more serious. And then Geralt and Yennefer and all of them are kind of commenting on the conjunction of spheres, like, and Vesemir saying, you know, we need to make more Witchers, like we need Ciri's help, like something is up here, like something's acting up. Is there another conjunction that's going to happen? So those kinds of things are being teased, and that's really exciting, right? Because we've only scratched the surface of shit hitting the fan. Like, you thought the stuff with the elven babies was bad? Just wait, man. Just wait. It gets more and more and more intense. Mini Maxie, definitely going to have to take a quiz. My normie friend, if she picked up on the owl being a person part. Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about too, because after season 1 of The Witcher, the really great thing is we did a giveaway on the channel, and I gave away The Last Wish, Sword of Destiny, I believe Blood of Elves. And I know, anyways, I gave away a bunch of books because I wanted people to get into the books. And after season 1 of The Witcher, the books were sold out on Amazon UK, Canada, US. They were sold out on a bunch of different Kohl's stores. And that's the cool thing too, because people are getting into The Witcher now, right? Like that happened after season 1, but now I think even more so with some of these political conflicts coming forward, with them pulling, some of the main antagonist stuff forward and introducing some of these other characters. I feel like people are really going to want to get into the main novels and stuff now. So I think that more and more people are going to be getting into the books because they want to know what's going to happen next season, right? And yeah, they kind of deviated away from a lot of these things, but at the same time, getting some of that mythology, learning about these characters, learning about some of the plots, people love to do that kind of stuff in the off season, right? And like I said, with the uncertainty of what's going on with COVID, hopefully we get The Witcher season 3 by the next holiday season. That's what they're aiming for, and that's what Lauren Histrich said. But, having the books and having these things to talk about is really, really interesting and exciting going forward, right? Like there is a completed story for The Witcher for you guys to read if you haven't read the books. Kay says, I'm just the type that talks to animals, so at first legit I thought he was talking to an owl. Yeah, I got you too. Like talk to every little dog. Oh, it's such a cute dog or cat, like get distracted. I totally get that too. Yeah, and oh my god, the fight scenes this season. Of course, we had Geralt fighting the Bruxa in episode 1. We had the Riant stuff with the Michelet brothers at the Temple of Melitele with Neneki, and that was really cool getting to see that character introduced. Like some people thought that we might not get that introduction, but that was really interesting, kind of having her as an advisor to Ciri and kind of, imparting some wisdom on Ciri. That was super interesting. Oh man, like there is I'm just so excited about everything, chat. You guys know how hyped I get. And yeah, to be honest, right after this stream, I think I'm gonna go watch it again, because now I know I'm getting you guys hyped, but I'm hyping myself up even more. Right? I'm like, damn. So yeah, and there's only gonna be more characters that they introduce that are gonna be more exciting characters and more plot elements. And like I said, it only gets more intense as it goes on, right? As we go forward. Let's see. Fitzchivalry Snow says, I suspected the owl was Philippa just because of how he feels about her in the game. Ooh, see? That's what I love too. We have some people who have played The Witcher 3, the game, some people who have read the books, and I think more people are going to get in the game too, because I think it's pretty cheap now too. The Game of the Year on PC, you can get for like $20. On console, I believe it's like $20 to get The Witcher 3, and that's with all the DLCs and stuff like that. So a lot of people are getting into into The Witcher, and I thought that was really awesome. What did you guys think about Voleth Emhyr, the Deathless Mother, and that element of the story, and Ciri being one of the main antagonists of the season, pulling through basilisks at Kaer Morhen to end the season? Like that was absolutely insane, right? And showing that there's also a good side to having Ciri be really strong with her powers, but also a bad side. They showed the consequence of the wrong kind of people getting a hold of Ciri and using them and using her for their own power and gain, right? Oh man, here's a good one. Philippa Eilhart instead of Eilhart. I love that. So yeah, there were so many great moments this season in The Witcher. I can't. Oh man, there's so many favorite moments. I loved when also Ciri and Geralt are going into the forest and they see the Leshy, and Geralt's like, oh, okay, like, you know, the Leshy is calling you, and then we see the Myriapod just like, the Leshy is one of the most dangerous monsters on the continent, and we just see this Myriapod like slash the Leshy in half. I thought that was really cool, and then Geralt jumping off the mountain to like basically split the Myriapod in half and save Ciri. That was really cool. All the Kaer Morhen stuff obviously is hugely sentimental because Kaer Morhen is, you know, the home of Geralt, or one of his homes anyways. And that was really cool, just seeing like all of like the kind of old rooms and Vesemir teaching the history about like, oh, this was this Witcher, this was Declan. He told the story about Declan and, you know, there being experiments and, you know, basically the fall of the Witchers. This is why we don't have very many Witchers anymore. And then this was, you know, an older Witcher and this kind of thing. I kind of love them going more into that, and hopefully we do kind of see a little bit more of that. But obviously Geralt said, hey, we can't stay here. We got to keep on moving because obviously there's a lot of people that are searching for Ciri for their own power and whatnot. So yeah, that's really exciting too, right? And then and then obviously there's all of these little elements and conflicts that are unresolved. They're left open-ended. Like, we don't know what happened to Cahir and Fringilla. Obviously, we're going to start off next season and they're going to be like imprisoned, and we're not going to know where that goes, and that's going to be really exciting. And we're going to get to see Emhyr really pissed off and him want to move forward. And then we kind of have conflict in Redania, and then we have little finger S things going on behind the screens with Philippa and Dijkstra and kind of all of the different kingdoms and the Brotherhood and Stregobor and Vilgefortz. And oh my god, I think oh yeah. But yeah, one of my other favorite moments of the season, you know, is mine. Geralt saying, that's my child. She's mine. Like, him claiming her. Like, no, that's my, like, I love that. Him, like, he was, we never saw Geralt that mad, right? Especially at someone he loves too. Like, Yennefer is his soulmate, and him doing that, him putting his foot down is like, listen, don't ever do anything like that again. I will kill you. I will kill you. Oh, what's going on, Kulniski? So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the season. I wanted this to kind of be like a more reactionary stream and kind of talk about some of my favorite moments. Obviously, we got the huge reveal at the end of the season, the very last scene, and we also got a mid-credit scene, a trailer of The Witcher Blood Origin. Really exciting. That's going to be awesome. And I think that'll be cool to kind of, for them to kind of go into the mythology of the past eons and ages of Witchers and stuff like that. So it looks like there's some sort of conjunction happening during that period with those characters. And this is going to be the story of the very first Witchers. So yeah, overall, I just want to thank everyone for coming to join me here today. I want to do a fun, short, reactionary hype stream for all of you guys and let you know that there's going to be a lot of Witcher content happening on the channel. I'm in the process of hiring a full-time editor, so there will be a lot of episode reviews. There's going to be some live streams this week. I don't know if I'll do one tomorrow, but I think I'll do a live stream on Wednesday, and I'll definitely probably do one on Friday. So you're probably going to get 3 live streams out of just me talking about different kind of elements of the season of The Witcher. I'm going to go back and watch some of The Witcher season 2 right after this stream because I'm hyped now and I want to go back and kind of find out all those elements that I might have missed. This Saturday, fingers crossed, if all of our schedules align, we're going to have an episode 1 review. Me, Aziz, and Mikhail from the podcast of Surprise. If you haven't checked out our podcast, Anchor.fm, the podcast of Surprise. We're going to be doing an episode 1 breakdown of the show, right? So we already have our podcast version of The Grain of Truth short story breakdown and review on the podcast Surprise. I believe we have 17 episodes now. So if you guys want to go check it out, I'm just going to put Anchor.fm for you, and you type in the podcast of Surprise, and you'll see our playlist of all of our reviews for this. We covered the first 2 books of the series, The Witcher. So if you haven't checked that out and you want to get into the books, I highly recommend it. We kind of explain the different kingdoms and the fairy tale elements and the plot telling devices that Andrzej Sapkowski uses. And the influences, what influenced him, like his love for Dracula and Snow White and all of these different fairy tales. So really, really, really excited to be back, everyone. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of videos coming up, and I really appreciate all of you being here with me. If you want to support the channel, you can hit that join button. You certainly don't have to, but it really, really helps out. Or you can become a Patreon on Patreon. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. That, of course, helps out this video getting seen in the algorithm. So the more likes, the better the video does. And let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see on The Witcher Season 2. I'm definitely going to be doing some character profile kind of stuff. I want to do one on Emhyr, Ciri's dad, the Emperor of Nilfgaard. We'll do one on the Wild Hunt and some of the more mythological elements of The Witcher. We'll talk about the conjunction of spheres. We'll do one on that because there's not a lot of information on that, but I think we can clarify that a little bit more. We can talk about Philippa and all of these different things. So anything that you want to see on the channel, let me know in the comment section. We'll talk about it. There's going to be tons of Witcher content coming here for you in the near future. Thank you very much, everyone. Please enjoy the rest of your Monday. I highly suggest you get into the Witcher books if you haven't. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Wednesday for another live stream. Thanks for watching.